Happy Thursday, everyone. Typically, we do this on Wednesday. Welcome to another fabulous edition of the Greater Lawrence Chamber of Commerce Chamber Chat, presented by Bose, McKinney & Evans. Thank you, Bose, McKinney & Evans, for sponsoring this little program show, whatever we want to call it, podcast. Joining us today from Bose, McKinney & Evans, Alan Becker is here to introduce our guest. Take it away, Alan.
Thank you, Brad. Our guest today is Trace Yates, who is sort of the quintessential man about Lawrence. He was the president of the Greater Lawrence Chamber until he retired in 2019, and now he spends his time volunteering with various Lawrence community organizations. He also serves as the executive director of the Lawrence Parks Foundation, and I'm sure we'll be getting into that at some point during the conversation today. So take it away, Brad and Trace.
Thank you very much, Alan. I appreciate it. You're the best co-host, Ed McMahon, ever.
Okay.
So, Trace, how have you been doing? So you sat right here, literally in this chair.
I did.
For how long were you here?
Gosh, two and a half years or so, something like that. I'll apologize. I bought the chair that Brad sits in that office. I purchased, but it's intended for a short fellow like me, not for a tall guy like Brad. So, you know, any back problems, please forgive me.
I like it. Gets the job done. It swivels, goes up and down. It's comfy. So, so anyhow, obviously, most of the people here know you from having run the chamber for 2.5 years. Let's start off with, tell everybody, what have you been doing with yourself for the last 1.5 years?
Well, you know, it's interesting. When I departed from the chamber, it was the end of 2019, and then 2020 occurred, right? And all the weirdness that went along with that. But you know, the joke here at our house was there was always an over/under bet about how long I would, you know, stay quote unquote retired and not do much. 2020 forced a lot of that upon us because there just wasn't much to do. But you know, when I departed, I pledged to remain an engaged citizen and active in the community, and an opportunity came about, and I'm thrilled that I found a part-time position with a recently formed park foundation, and am thrilled to have an opportunity to serve.
So, sticking with what you did with the chamber, what was your proudest moment? What is it that you accomplished during your tenure that you were most proud of, and what is it that you wished you would have been able to get accomplished that you didn't quite get to?
Well, boy, we accomplished a lot. It was a lot of very unglamorous, but nevertheless hard work occurred, as Alan can attest to. We brought the organization up to speed a little bit, you know, dove into the bylaws and brought those up to current status and current standing. The building that the chamber occupied for a number of years was to be sold, so we had to find space of where we could move the chamber, and that was a challenge given the real estate market. But thank goodness we had such great community partners as we do, and one of them happens to be MSD Lawrence Township, and that's where the chamber sits today, and Brad is broadcasting from the LACC building today. So I was thrilled that we updated the office as well, and hired some really talented people and brought talent on the board, and really established I think a pretty good voice in the community. Not that there wasn't beforehand. The person that preceded me did a wonderful job, but I thought we accomplished a lot. We hosted a mayoral debate that I'm still pretty proud that the chamber hosted such an event, and we carved out a voice in the community, I think, as an advocate for not only our membership but the entire community.
So It's interesting. Last fall, we had John Merlin, who was the former president of the Indy Chamber, on as a chamber chat guest. And he had a nice quote. He goes, every single chamber, or he goes, if you've seen one chamber, you've seen one chamber. He goes, they all operate differently. Every president operates differently. And yeah, there's a different style. So I'm sure Jessica had a different style from you.
Yeah.
I'm certainly different than both of you. So
yeah,
yeah.
well, the chamber's in great hands. No doubt about it. With you and the board, it's the sky's the limit. So I'm getting a kick just watching it from afar. So it's a great job so far.
Thank you, Tracy.
Congratulations.
Kiss my ass. So for those watching, Trace is also my next door neighbor. Although interestingly, we'd only casually said hello prior to me getting this job. So
yes.
So yeah, I didn't know what Trace did and vice versa. So
funny coincidence.
Yeah, I know. Now here we are. So
small community.
Yeah, no kidding. Let's talk a little bit about the parks and the Parks Foundation.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us a little bit about, you said the foundation is new. So were you involved in the creation of that? And how did you get to be the executive director? And what all is that going to do?
Well, the foundation was formed in 2019, and it was really the vision of Mr. Sean Denny. And a lot of folks know Sean or know his name in the community. Talk about a very busy, engaged citizen. Sean Denny is certainly that. He's on the Common Council. It's for the city of Lawrence and serves as the deputy trustee for Lawrence Township, was on MSD Lawrence Township School Board, very busy guy. So it was his vision that he wanted to form this foundation. Interestingly enough, I don't know why, I don't think any of us really fully understand why, the city of Lawrence never had a Parks Foundation before. Many communities do have such an organization, but we didn't have one for whatever reason. So kudos to Sean and his vision to form this, along with some additional founding board members. One of them happens to be Dr. Dana Altmeyer with MSD Lawrence Township. So that founding board members really had a vision. So as I said, it was formed in late 2019. Along came 2020, right? And not a lot got done. Not a great time to launch a brand new C3 nonprofit organization. So Sean and I have known each other for a number of years, and we happened to connect again over last summer, and he asked me if I'd be willing to lend a hand in helping the organization kind of get launched and established in the community, and I was thrilled to say I'd be happy to do so. So 2021, the efforts have really begun more now in earnest. So
tell me a little bit about what does the purpose of the Parks Foundation, how does it interconnect with just the Parks Department? And, is there programming, facilities, all those things? How do you expand the reach of the park? What are the goals of a foundation like that?
Yeah, great question. So I guess the first thing would be to clarify how we are independent from the city. We're our own 501c3 nonprofit organization. And just given the nature of being a nonprofit, we have the opportunity to help assist the city with some of the future plans that they have to expand the park. Nonprofits have an opportunity to reach funding opportunities and grants and crowdsourcing, et cetera, that other organizations can't do. So just on the premise alone of why a foundation such as a Parks Foundation exists, that's one of the main reasons. A great example I can offer, particularly with the chamber audience, is most folks here in the community are familiar with Lawrence Township School Foundation. Great organization, no doubt about it. Do a lot of wonderful work for the community. Well, they exist to fill that gap between funding available through traditional municipalities and what students really need in the classroom and teachers really need in the classroom. So they exist to fill that gap. And it's the same thing with parks. We're here, our mission and our mission statement is to support and enhance the public parks and green space and public gathering spaces and trails, et cetera, in the city of Lawrence.
So what you would, so what you guys would add, so would you help with design, tangible things that go into the park, all of the above, strategic planning, potential programming?
Yeah, programming, just to pick up on that point, is a great opportunity that we can all work together to expand programming in the parks and offer more amenities and activities and engagement with the parks. I should identify that the city of Lawrence recently invested a pretty good amount of money for a master plan. These are typically done every 10 years or so. Of course, Councilor Whitfield can probably add to this if she would like, but these are typically done about every 10 years, and City of Lawrence just completed one. So it's a very comprehensive master plan. Lots of takeaways from that, but just to offer one as an example, one of the main takeaways of this plan is the fact that our community is very well known for an active and been around for a long time, a youth sports program, particularly with baseball and soccer. We're well known for that in the community throughout central Indiana. And when you think about all the baseball tournaments and soccer tournaments that occur, a lot of folks across the Midwest know the city of Lawrence because of that. So that's a really rich and important heritage that we certainly want to continue to embrace and to expand. But beyond that, boy, there's lots of opportunity to expand parks programming, like you mentioned, Brad, amenities, engagement, maybe additional parks themselves. It's interesting when we look at a map of the city of Lawrence and where parks are located, we have a couple of voids, particularly to the northeast and the southeast of the community. So it can be expansion of land acquisition and parks themselves to expand the number of parks. Certainly trails is high on everyone's list of community goals and desires that folks would like to see. But it can also be capital campaigns to expand equipment and pickleball is high on the list too. So that ranks highly. So that, boy, there's just so many opportunities, I guess is my point, of what can be done in the community and how the Parks Foundation and the city of Lawrence can work together to bring a lot of those visions to fruition.
So a follow-up question, and this is just because I don't know any better. Your area of focus, is it solely City of Lawrence parks? Is it Lawrence Township? Does the state park play into any of that? Or I'm just curious how big your focus is.
Yeah, the bylaws state that we focus on the city of Lawrence. Just because, and I'm sure you appreciate this with the chamber, right? It's always a little murky with city of Lawrence, Lawrence Township, who's inside the boundary, who's out, et cetera. That it's a little bit of a quirky sort of situation, I suppose. But we're the Lawrence Community Parks Foundation, so we like to view ourselves certainly as more inclusive than we would be exclusive.
The way I define it is anybody that has an interest in seeing Lawrence be a better place, however they define Lawrence, they're welcome to be a member of the chamber.
I like it. Very good. I like it.
So I'd like to remind everybody, you're watching Chamber Chat presented by Bose, McKinney & Evans. Thank you, Bose, McKinney, and Evans, for being the sponsor. Let's take an opportunity here to open it up to those who are in attendance to ask Trace questions. You can ask him anything. You can ask him what he would do differently if he were me. You can ask him how many more parks he wants to see. So raise your hand or just chime in. We're a small group here, so you're not going to offend anybody. Go ahead, Abby.
So the organization that I do is over near 42nd and Post. And so I'm wondering, what is your plan for outreach in that area? I mean, we've got a lot of kids that don't get these opportunities to play baseball or play soccer due to the financial situations and obviously the horrendous lack of transportation.
Yeah.
What needs, I mean, we obviously know what needs to be done. What are your plans for that, or are there?
Well, Abby, thank you for a great question. And you're right. One of the goals that we have is to make our public parks and community resources such as parks to be equitable for the entire community. And your example of youth sports and where some kids may not have an opportunity, that's a great example of something that a foundation can and should be doing. So keep in mind, we're such a young organization, but we are very engaged with conversations about what can we do to help fundraise and help some of the kids who may not be able to register for baseball or soccer or football or whatever their sport happens to be. What can we do to create a scholarship opportunity to help these kids play? Transportation, I don't know. We haven't gotten that far, but those types of conversations are certainly taking place now, and the board is certainly talking about those things currently. No question about it.
Okay, so a follow-up question to that then would be, would you allow me to be a representative for some of these people and talk on their behalf, or could I at least join the conversation?
Yes, Abby, please join the conversation. I'm happy to share my email with you and whoever else would like to jot it down. I'd love to have a conversation with you, talk a little bit more about this. So
I will. Yeah, I will definitely reach out to you then. If I'll get your email address, and I will definitely reach out to you. Thank you.
Yep, I sure will. Yep.
Thank you, Abby. Other questions for Trace while he's here? Russ Dodge, you go right ahead.
Absolutely. Trace, first, good to meet you the other day. But I wanted to ask, I've had some past relationships with other park board foundations like Eagle Creek and Garfield. And these are well-established organizations that are doing a pretty good job of being funded. You're newer to the game. And in a lot of cases, it's the same pot of money that some of these more established organizations get the money from. What are you going to do differently to be able to raise funds, particularly if you can't get it from some of the normal sources that like to fund park foundations?
Yeah, Russ, great question. Funding is critical to any organization, any C3 organization, but particularly a newly formed C3 organization on the heels of COVID, right? And all that we've gone through in 20. So right now, yes, there are plenty of grant opportunities. I think that our organization needs to grow into that a little bit. We're not quite ready for that yet, but we're lining a handful of opportunities up now for perhaps later in the year. But right now, the big thing is just growing awareness and letting the community know that we now have a Parks Foundation, and just good old-fashioned grassroots funding. So, for example, a couple of weeks ago, we had an Arbor Day celebration, and it was a fundraising opportunity for us. People could sponsor a tree, and have that tree planted in memory of or in honor of whomever they would like. And we planted 6 new trees out of Veterans Park. So that's an example of a beautification effort, right? That can take place for fundraising. Another big opportunity for fundraising is we're working on now is a July 3rd, 4th of July holiday celebration. And we're going to have a event called Stars and Stripes Party at the Park. We're going to host this event, and this is a fundraising event for our foundation. So Brad, if you don't mind, I'd like to go ahead and announce this while we're at it.
Please do.
So this event will take place, as I mentioned, July 3rd. We're going to host this event, this family-friendly community event at the new Fort Bend Cultural Campus. Arts for Lawrence and Judy Byron and her team are our gracious hosts for the event. We really appreciate them, but we see this as an opportunity to not only spread the message of the Parks Foundation, but to showcase and shine the spotlight on a brand new, really exciting community asset like the cultural campus. So this event will be a late afternoon, 6 o'clock or so. As I mentioned, family friendly, food trucks, games, live band, etc. We're just going to have a good time out there. And then as dusk closes in, we plan to have some brass band play some military music, obviously in honor of the 4th of July. And then we'll all just cross Otis Street is a small, narrow street, so we're not crossing a major highway, but we'll cross the street and then watch fireworks occur, and they visible from over the top of the DFAS building. So that, again, it's a fundraising event, Russ, for the chamber, and it's those types of activities right now until we really get some grant opportunities ahead of us. It's community funding, and this organization certainly needs the business community to embrace us. So sponsorships for events, sponsorships just for the foundation itself are all available and visible on the website.
Cool, that'll be fun.
Yeah.
So, Councilor Rusamaroff, you have a question. Hello.
Yes, I do. Well, I have a comment and also a question. My first comment is to let folks know that I am working with some constituents to attempt and build a coalition to provide a butterfly freeway or sanctuary in our existing parks, as well as to ask other companies and businesses to participate, as well as looking at public property and right-of-ways and so forth, because essentially that all it takes to do that is planting native plants, milkweeds in particular, and it's a cheap and easy and a win-win for all. And I hope I am currently working on that, and I hope that comes to fruition sometime within the next year or so. So I wanted to make that announcement. But the other thing that I have great concerns about is I represent District 4, and that is the most eastern and southern area of Lawrence. So it's bounded by 46th Street, Carroll, German Church, and goes along 63rd Street, basically. And in that area, we have a lot of connectivity and some trails, but this subdivision of Winding Ridge, which is, I believe, still the second largest subdivision in Marion County. And just in one portion of it, we are 1 square mile, 46 to 56, Carroll to German Church. That's a lot of folks in there. And we have no ability to connect to any piece of our community unless via a motorized vehicle. So there is no ability safely to get on a sidewalk, a trail, a path anywhere beyond those confines. There is some attempts, and I've been looking at this problem for quite some time, to create a connector, maybe a cantilever pathway along a bridge section on 56th Street. And the reason I bring this up is we talk about in the park plan a lot of connectivity and trails, but the problem is in this particular area, and there are other areas in the city of Lawrence, but amazingly, many places have sidewalks that have a fairly large segment with just a few connectors can be a complete system. But in Winding Ridge, we really cannot get out of this community safely unless it's via a motorized vehicle. And I find that, given that we have a new library coming in, which is a collector for young people, and we have Veterans Parks that's just gotten a whole new reface, it seems like we should have the ability for our young folks to connect to at least those two places without parents having to drive them, so on a bicycle or on their own 2 feet. And of course, that also goes into our young people's health and obesity issues and all those sorts of things. So those are my 2 big things that I'm working on and I'm interested in, and I hope that we can work with your foundation to make some of that happen. And in fact, I will be a contributor to your foundation on your donate page, and I anticipate doing that here in the next couple of days. So thank you. That's all.
Well, thank you very much for your support of the foundation. Councilor Rusumaroff and I saw one another yesterday at the State of the City. Had a moment to connect. I love the butterfly garden. We've been talking about that too. Butterfly habitat, maybe hummingbirds, sanctuary with native plants. I'm intrigued to look at the Bragdon wetlands, which is a public park that a lot of folks don't even realize it's a public park, but it is on the asset list of public parks for the city. And it's it's a narrow strip of land that borders 46th Street behind Monarch Beverage. And so it's wetland, right? It's lowland, and it's planted with native plants. So so you and I had a chance to talk yesterday. Let's please do connect sometime, grab some coffee or meet sometime and talk, because I do think that's a really wonderful idea. Whether it's in that location or another, I think it's a wonderful idea, and we're very interested to talk about that. And ditto to trails. Folks who have known me and know my time at the chamber know I've been banging on the trails and connectivity drum for a very long time. So maybe the Parks Foundation is another avenue that we can continue to chip away at that.
Thank you, Counselor. So Trace, in our last minute or so, I've got 2 questions for you. Mm-hmm. We'll start with one and then go to the other. Mm-hmm. Question number 1, what is your single biggest goal, and we'll say a 5-year goal, for Parks in Lawrence?
Wow. Well, to me, just off the cuff, it would be additional assets and programming. We are talking about such ideas as a STEM in the Park event, where we partner with MSD Lawrence Township, probably in 2022. We're halfway through 21 already, right? So something like that takes some time to put together. But a STEM in the Park activity where we engage with a great community partner and have students out there for STEM activities. I think that could be a really wonderful idea. Arts in the park, with maybe Arts for Lawrence or additional music, different outdoor programming. I think with movie nights, there's lots of cool things that we can do with programming, but with amenities too. I mean, splash park, redesign of some of our current parks now with Community Park and Lee Road Park, maybe reimagining those. And I know that's certainly on the mind of the current administration and Mayor Collier. But I would say additional programming and equitable opportunities for the entire community to engage, and expansion of parks and amenities.
All right. And my last question, why do you love Lawrence?
You know, Lawrence is great. We're a big city. I mean, this census, I think we're gonna tick over 50,000 people, or pretty close to it. So I think a lot of folks are surprised how big we are, really. But we're a small town feel. I mean, look, everyone on the call now, most of us know one another. We see one another in the community. Most folks are passionate and engaged about helping the community. So it's the best of both. And we're 20 minutes to downtown or Broad Ripple or Fishers or wherever you want to go. So it's really the best of both worlds. And we have a state park at our doorstep, and it's just a great community.
Wow, you should run the chamber. So I want to thank everybody for joining us. Thank you, Bose, McKinney, and Evans, for sponsoring Chamber Chat. We certainly appreciate your support. For everybody on here, some things that we have coming up. Next Tuesday morning, get up early. Freeway Engineering, we're doing the groundbreaking ceremony. 7500 Pendleton Pike is the address of that. And I think like I say, 7:30. So show up. Hopefully the weather's going to hold out for us. We're going to turn some dirt. I think they're going to have some snacks and coffee there. That's a good opportunity to come out. June 10th, we have our Diversity in the Workplace luncheon. That's going to be at the Garrison. Jeanette Jackson from the city is going to head that up. We have a great panel of speakers. So please put that on your calendar. We'll be having the sign up come out for that probably tomorrow. June 28th, we've got the Chamber Golf outing that's going to be at Hillcrest Country Club. And July 13th, we have our Women in Leadership luncheon. And that's going to be featuring Lieutenant Governor Suzanne Crouch. So watch for us to add some more events, but those are some of the big ones coming up. So Trace, thank you again. Thank you all for joining us, and we'll see you all again in 2 weeks, hopefully. Take care, everybody.